Okay guys, next tutorial we're actually going to put all of the frames and the floor together to create your complete assembly. So if we study the final product here, we can see there's frame D lying down as the floor. On top of that we've got the actual particle board flooring, and then on top of that we have frame A running through from one side to the other, and then B and C joining onto it accordingly. A couple of things to look at from the assembly drawing. If we just skip down a few slides, the main thing we need to take note of here is the distance from the outside corner to the inside face is 865. So that should be a constant throughout each corner if we've done things correctly. Okay, so let's assemble all these parts together for a complete assembly in Fusion. So go to Fusion. First thing to do is to create a new file if you haven't already got one there, and then let's save it straight away. Let's call this one complete assembly. Make sure it's in the construction pod, click on save, and then we can get started. So it would make sense to start by putting the frame D down first as the floor. So I'm going to go to frame D and find it. There it is there. Right click, insert into current design. And you can see here it's in an upright position. So I want to rotate that into a floor-like position. So I grab this handle here and drag it down -90. Remember, it's always multiples of 90 degrees. I could have done the same thing by rotating it this way. It doesn't really matter as long as it's in multiples of 90 degrees. And that looks pretty good. So I'm happy with that. So I click OK. Before I do anything else, I need to ground this whole frame so that everything else moves relative to it. So I select it, then I right click, and I click on ground. It's now fixed in space, so everything else will be moving accordingly to it. Alright, so that's the frame D down as a floor. Let's now put the particle board yellow tongue on top. So I go find that, there it is there, yellow tongue floor. Right click, insert into current design. And let's just pull it away a little bit to make sure we do get this thing lined up correctly. Click OK. Pretty easy here. Now, one thing I will notice here though is that the long edge of the particle board is running along the edge of our stud here. What I might do is actually spin this 90 degrees so it's running at a right angle to the studs, and that should give us a bit more rigidity in our frame. So I'm going to actually edit this particle board so it's turned 90 degrees. So to edit something, I click onto it, I right click, I go move or copy, and then it gives us a few seconds and it gives us all those tools that we can do things with. So I'm going to spin this 90 degrees. So I'm going to move that around 90. Doesn't matter if it's negative or positive at this point in time. Click OK. And then I'm going to apply a joint between this bottom right corner here and the far right corner over here on my frame. So joint like we've been doing. Yes, I do want to capture its position. I go to the bottom right corner of my yellow tongue, and then I go to the far right corner there of my frame. Now, see how the cursor's not immediately going to that flat position? So what I'm going to have to do here is zoom in a little bit and put my cursor along that flat edge so it's in the correct orientation, even so it's still being a bit of a pain. So I'm going to zoom in even further. Oops. And hopefully we'll get this thing to go, there it goes, there it's in now, it's in the correct orientation. So remember, you have to have both of those planes, those little circles, in the same parallel plane. Click there, in comes our plasterboard, our particle board, our yellow tongue, which should be correctly aligned. I'm going to zoom out a bit, looks good. Click OK, and then I'm going to copy and paste that over the side as well. So select the yellow tongue, Command C, Command V, and this time let's just grab, let's just grab this corner here and line up with that corner there. It should be all good. So OK to the copy. Let's go to a joint. This time I'm going to select that top corner. If I can just get it to zoom in, that would be good. I'm going to select this top corner here, and I'm going to then select this top corner over here, because I know those two corners are going to join together, and I'm happy with that. So click OK, and as before I like to turn the joints off so we can see if things are correct. Just turn it off here up in the file tree. OK, click on save before you lose it, and let's now put down frame A, B and C. So go find frame A, here it is here, right click, insert into current design, and it's in the correct orientation, as in it's upright. I might put this, basically just going to move it onto the center, if you like, of my board here. So I'm going to leave it in that position. It's pretty good with that orientation. Let's apply the joint. So I now want the center of this plate here to line up with the join here of my particle board. So I'm going to zoom in, because it's sometimes hard to find where to locate things. And I grab that bottom plate and I find the center of that bottom plate. You can see there it's snapping to the center. Click once, and then I'm going to find the corresponding center over here on where the join is between these two bits of particle board. Now it's not being very nice to me. Let's have a look, see where there it goes there. You can see now I've got those two circles parallel, and also that is the center. And it appears to have only moved the bottom plate. That's okay, the rest will catch up when we click OK, but that is correct. You can see the center of the bottom plate is now in the center of those two pieces of particle board. Click OK. I'll just zoom out to show you what I mean, which is correct. You can see that center there now, that's correct. And then we'll do exactly the same thing for positioning the other two, frame B and C. So let's bring frame B in, right click, insert to current design. We'll need to rotate this, so I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Positive, negative, doesn't really matter. Click OK. Let's put a joint between them. So I'm going to zoom in, and once again using that midpoint tool, which is really handy. There it is there. You can see there's the midpoint along that bottom plate. Click once, move your way over, see whether you can now find the midpoint along this edge here, and you can see there it is there. Now be careful you don't get the bottom midpoint, or it's got the top midpoint, because it's sitting on top of the object. And that looks correct. Let's click OK. So far so good. Alright, now if you did make a mistake, remember you just go to the joint, there it is there, right click and edit, and you can go back and you can deselect these things and start all over again if you wish to. Okay. Right, last one to do then will be the other frame around the side. So to spin that around, I'm going to hold down Shift and two fingers on my trackpad so I can see the other side. Or I could use these corners here. Oops, that didn't do exactly what I wanted to do. Click that one there, that's it there. So these are the different viewing positions that we can select. So that's looking good for me. I'm going to bring in frame C this time. And the reason why I'm bringing in frame C, not just doing a copy of frame B, is later on in my assembly drawing, I actually want frame C to be labeled correctly. You'll see what I mean when we do this later on. So insert into current design. Once again, let's rotate this thing 90 degrees. Click OK. Let's put a joint between the two of them. Click joint, zoom in, same way we did before. So it's the midpoint on that bottom plate. Click once, and then find the corresponding midpoint on the top of the particle board there. not top meaning that way, but still have those two circles align with each other. And that looks correct, so we'll click OK. Let's have a look, zoom out a bit. It looks good from there. Let's go top view to have a look. Yes, all the four corners are lined up correctly. Let's go to home view. Let's go front view to have a look. Yep, the tops are all correctly lined there, and there's nothing going below each other, which looks correct. Okay, you can hit save, and you have now assembled all the parts. Okay, so next thing we'll do will be go on to doing some drawings and then some renderings.